how is it going? My goodness gracious, it has been so long, so long. Is that my fault? Yes. Well, let's get into it. I just broke my GoPro strap, so hopefully this stays. If not, well, guess it'll be it. Last like 3 or 4 videos I've done are basically like, hey, sorry, it's been a while. Let me explain. I'm not gonna explain it. I mean, I guess I am. Like, look, life's busy. You have a kid, you got business, you got all sorts of stuff going on. Sometimes things just take a back seat, and unfortunately this is one of those things that takes a back seat, but we upload when we can. Also, it is super important to remember, especially on this day, this video is unofficially brought to you by the song May 16th by Lagwagon. And did I intentionally plan all of that to just get it like on this day? Absolutely. I am that corny. Absolutely. Quite frankly, I have no shame about that. I think that's hilarious. And it's a great song, so you should absolutely check it out. So per usual, we are in East Lansing. And it's actually like the week after classes got out, so campus is quiet. It's always a weird feeling. The atmosphere at the end of the semester is always a lot of fun. Everybody's kind of in a good mood. The weather's getting nice, and then it's all gone. I think I'm gonna label this video getting lean or thinning out, thinning the herd, something like that, because it seems like a common theme, a common trend right now. On one hand, you might think like, oh, well, he's just saying that because he's about to mention that he's like trying to lose weight. One, yes, you are correct, but that's actually not it. I mean, it's when you think about things right now, you know, you hear about store shelves are thinning out. There's less stuff on store shelves now because of tariffs and such. Or you hear companies are thinning the herd right now, right? Layoffs are here. Budgets are getting constrained by people, you know, their own finance. And that's always a hard spot to be in, right? I mean, I feel like it's a natural ebb and flow of life, but it's always a difficult spot. Sure, you know, there's always benefits to how can I do more with less? How can I exert less energy, less money, less whatever, and get more results out of it? It's never a bad thing to do. It's never a bad question to ask. Never a bad time to do that. However, there are times that your hand's kind of forced into that, right? That could be economically speaking, in terms of health, it could be, you know, a range of reasons for this. And that's when it's always a lot harder. You know, if you're sitting there in really good health and you're like, I just want to lose 10 pounds. Easy. Well, not easy, but it's easy to have that mindset of, we're just going to figure out and do it. Whereas if you are told by the doctor, you know, you got this health issue, you got to lose 10 pounds before you can have this surgery. That's all of a sudden a lot harder because you're being forced to do it. It's not a voluntary decision. You're being told, like, you have to do this. And that's a lot harder position to be in than to do this voluntarily, looking at opportunities as they may or may not present themselves. When you're looking at your budget in times of surplus, you know, let's say you just got a raise, and you're looking at this from the perspective of how can I take this money in this raise and save more of it, invest more of it? How can I adjust my budget to perhaps get me to my goal of retirement faster? That's a wonderful time to do it. Sure, it's difficult, it's not always easy, but it's kind of a fun time to do it. However, you run a business, economy gets a little slow. Now all of a sudden you're kind of forced to do that. It's a lot harder all of a sudden to figure that out. The decisions aren't coming from a place of positivity and abundance. It's coming from a place of necessity and difficult decision making. So as you can see, this video isn't about losing weight, right? That's not where the title comes from necessarily. It's actually looking at this from more of the economic effects that are occurring in the world right now. There's a lot of uncertainty out there. Nobody really knows what's happening or what's coming next. Is my budget safe? Is my job safe? Is my business safe? Is my retirement safe? All of these things. It's hard to tell. I think history generally points to things that in the long run, for most people, The answer is yes, it'll be fine in the long run. But it doesn't mean that there aren't hard times or difficulties along the way. And I'm not minimizing those hard times or difficulties. But I also think that in times like this, there are opportunities present to us that we can try to find the positive, try to make good out of a rough situation. And I understand all of this stuff is easier said than done, especially when you're not in the thick of it. But I still think that they're valuable mental exercises to consider for the possibility, or in some circumstances, the inevitable. You know, I think of a situation where, you know, let's say in your business, you have found out that, okay, our projected budget is going to be less than what it was. I thought I was going to be able to hire 3 people this year. It's not looking like that anymore. What do I do? How do I manage this? You know, all of a sudden, you're going from this point of, I need to hire 3 people in order to expand and grow, or the way I want to. And now you're like, look, I can still expand and grow, but my costs have risen. The amount that I'm taking in has decreased. So I can't afford those 3 people. I can only afford 1 now. What do I do? I think this is an opportunity, as difficult as it is, to think, how can I restructure the positions I have on my workplace? And I'm not saying laying people off. What I am saying is, how can I work with all of my staff, find out what do you do that's moving the needle? Maybe you're spending a decent amount of time on that you're like, this isn't helping any of us. It's just something that we do that we got to keep doing, I guess. And finding that opportunity there to meet with your team, to be like, oh man, you're spending 6 to 7 hours a week on stuff that, you know, isn't really moving the needle, but you could do 3 or 4 more hours of this and it would really, okay, how can we reduce that amount of time on these projects that are pointless? Can we get rid of it? Can we minimize it so that you can do the stuff that really matters to you more, that moves the needle for us more? And maybe even thinking, I know it's like the buzzword, it's like the hot topic right now, but, you know, AI or new systems, how can we utilize that to increase the amount of work that's being done in a shorter period of time? Perhaps we can't hire 3 new people. I can hire 1 person, and I can also afford a couple of these software programs that can help the team be more cohesive and be more productive. So I don't need those extra 2 people like I thought I did. I can use the team I have, make all of their quality of work better, but also their quality of life better, make everything easier, and set us up to weather the storm. In terms of budgeting, right? Your own personal budget. Let's not do that, because that might seem a little too preachy or something, right? And I don't want to come across that way. That's not how I mean any of this. But let's look at this from the perspective of, okay, leaning out, losing weight. Sure, it's difficult to do that. It's not easy necessarily. You got to find the time to exercise. You got to alter your diet. You got to probably track your calories, all these things. But there are benefits, there's opportunities present there. You know, perhaps you lose 5, 10, 15 pounds, and by doing so, you were like, yeah, you know, I picked up biking, you know, perfect example for this channel, I suppose. Turns out I love this. This is so much fun. I picked it up as just a form of exercise to do because I didn't want to run, but I just love to ride my bike now. You just found a new hobby. You were forced into a bad situation. You didn't want to lose weight, and then you found a new hobby. Or perhaps similar situation, similar scenario, but all of a sudden you're like, yeah, you know, it turns out I really like making this super simple salmon dish, and it's like one of my favorite dishes now. I would have never tried that if I wasn't working to lose the weight. But now you just discovered a new meal. You discovered a new way of eating, a new category of food that perhaps you would not have tried otherwise. And now you're like, man, you know, that difficult situation that I didn't exactly want to be in, that process I didn't want to go through, ends up being something that you're really quite proud of and you're happy you did. Again, it's all easier said than done, but that doesn't mean that it's not worth doing, that that bad situations don't have that silver lining. So all of that to say, it is easier said than done. I know. And I'm not trying to minimize the difficulties that anybody's going through, the experiences. I am just saying, I'm going through it too. We're all in it together. Be kind to each other, be kind to yourself, but always remember to look for that silver lining. It is rarely entirely hopeless. There's always, almost always, that opportunity for something positive to come out of a negative situation. But that's up to us to make the positive out of the bad situation. But folks, that's all that I have for now. Thank you so much, as always, for taking the time to listen. I'm not going to tell you it won't be as long until the next video, but next time I have something to say, I will be sure to upload. But until then, have a great day.